Hello, and welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What Am I Thinking? A podcast where two sisters share uplifting conversations on fun and sometimes serious topics.
Join us each week by clicking the notification bell and subscribing to our channel. If you enjoy the show, use the share link. It's one of the best ways to expand the conversation.
Hello and welcome back to the W.A.I.T channel. What am I thinking? So I'm just going to dive right in. What are we thinking today, Tracy?
We are thinking that if you have not watched the Netflix series Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, you may want to check it out. So these are some things that I heard before I watched it.
So wait, first, where are they going to find this series?
Netflix.
Okay, on Netflix.
On Netflix, yes. So some of the things I heard before I watched it was that like Niecy Nash, great character. She should get another Emmy for that work. That I watched the first episode and couldn't get past it. I got very angry watching it, and so I was just like, should I get in or not in? And so I decided to watch it because it's a very relevant to remembering when we found out about what he had done and all of that. And I want to say he was arrested in, I think, 1991. I think that's about right. So it was very relevant. The thing that they do is they do some back and forth in time with the story. But it's quite heart-wrenching, and I won't say that I was necessarily empathetic to him as even seeing his upbringing, but I would say it did help me understand how he ended up doing some of the things he did a little bit. So he had a very dysfunctional family, so that should be a given for someone who did the atrocities that he did. His parents, he was the oldest of two children. He had a brother that was 7 years younger than him. Apparently, when his mom was pregnant with him, I don't want to tell everything, but when his mom was pregnant with him, she was on a lot of medication. Father was concerned about it and kind of was like, you are hurting the fetus. But she was like, I can't carry the pregnancy if I can't sleep, if I can't do this. So she had a lot of issues. And we don't see her necessarily mothering him. We don't get to see that part. It kind of comes in when he is about that 7 or 8 years old, because the little brother is also born in at some point we could see, and the mom is checked out. The dad tries to connect with him, doing things like finding roadkill, dead animals, and they take them into their garage or storage building and dissect them and talk about, it's just not, to me, like, let's go play some sports. Let's go. Let's go to the zoo. And, it was sort of morbid from the beginning. And it's like, if you were trying to turn him into a doctor, maybe, but it wasn't even that. It was, it was kind of weird. And I don't think they really ever put that into check. In high school, they showed where his science teacher, they were dissecting a pig, and he asked, can I take a pig home and work on it? And the guy was like, in my 20 years of teaching, no one has ever asked if they could take a pig home to do some more dissection. Jeffrey did. So The thing that the story shows that is the most sad is that there were so many opportunities for him to have been caught so that he would not have had as many victims as he had. And I think that's the most heart-wrenching and sad part of it. And, the fact that he was gay did not help him on his journey because of whatever shame and things that brought to him. But he did find a community to meet gay men. Unfortunately, he just chose to kill them. And there was one relationship that seemed like it could be a normal relationship for him. But he ends up killing that young man as well. And it's just... Now,
are you aware of the apparent backlash from the family members concerning the creation of the
movie?
Yeah.
No, I know his father wrote a book. His mother is deceased now, but the father and the stepmom are living. The brother has changed his name, but he's still living. So is it the father and the stepmom?
No, these are the victims.
Oh, the victims.
They're victims' families.
They have... What? Tell me about that.
Well, I just kind of began hearing about it. I think they feel that it was the atrocities were so great that it's almost like by giving him this platform, you're glorifying what he did. And they're saying, why would anyone want to relive that time and having to see that?
And we really only got to really know one of the victims, and there was a young man that was deaf. That was the one who seemingly he could have had a relationship with, that seemed to like him and get him. And it seemed like, okay, maybe he can find a person, but it still didn't. So, but the rest of the victims, we don't really get to know them in a way that humanizes them and tells their story more. Maybe. And it just makes them seem like, because if you see the way he lures them, it does make you feel like, why? Why?
But sometimes in telling a story, that literally makes no sense. You want to see it from a certain lens. Yeah. And maybe his lens...
But this is Ryan Murphy, so you can imagine...
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. Okay, my mouth is open, people. Look up Ryan Murphy when we're done.
All right.
He's the one who has done all of those... oh gosh, what do they call he's done a lot. Well, he did Glee, but that's the happy, TV show that he did. But he, all of those, what do they call them? It's a whole series where Lady Gaga has been in them. I cannot think of the name of this. It's a hotel.
Oh, American Horror Story.
American Horror Story.
Okay.
Yes. So his lens, he is a gay man too, and so I could understand the story he wanted to tell, but I can at the same time, now that you mention it, understand how the families of the victims could feel slighted and feeling like they gave him a bigger stage than was worthy. But sometimes it's good to know how a monster can be created.
Exactly.
And I think that that's a big part of it. And when you kind of probably got to feel more for his family than you wanted to, because his grandmother, they knew something was not right with him. I didn't even know he was a military veteran. I didn't know he had been in the Army. His dad, after he had the incident, was it the incident? Something happened. He did something where he got in trouble, and the dad was like, you need to do something, so he goes into the Army, and seemingly he was doing well, but that didn't last because he was drugging people and sexually assaulting people. We never get to know exactly what he did in Germany that caused them to...
So I do remember that with that, the fact that he was not in the country, that count of people that he possibly killed, they did say we never.
They don't know, even for what they don't even know for in the country, because they just go by what he is telling them. And he was a bad alcoholic and probably other substances. So half the time he probably doesn't even know.
Did you finish the series, or?
I did finish the series, and he was killed in prison.
Okay.
And so, it showed his trial and the victim impact statements and all that, and it shows his demise in prison, and how even in prison, the way he was trying to show up to survive prison, was he I guess he was like, wanted them to, I don't want to say he was checking the box of being crazy, because he would not take an insanity defense. He didn't want to do that, but I think his father made him, but he didn't get it. He was just doing like gross things, sort of things to shock value. But he did it a little bit too much. And one of the prisoners, the way they show it, he found out what he was incarcerated for, because he didn't know, because he'd been in isolation or something. And he just got fixated on feeling like it was wrong what he did. Mind you, there's somebody else in prison for doing some wrong. And so
they have their own code.
Yep. So he killed him. And some would say, that is kind of something he set himself up for, but it's just there are no winners. So many of the victims could have been saved if law enforcement had handled it. And the last part I'll say as we close out is, I kind of feel like his case, there's several times with the way the story is told that it makes you see white privilege and racism, because most of his victims were people of color and gay men. And you have to think, if these victims that were missing were white men or women, that attention would have been drawn to the issue. And he lived in a predominantly drug-infested black community. So the police were not that concerned with the complaints that were being, the Glenda Cleveland lady, who, even though they kind of changed her actual story in the movie, she was calling the police. She called about the 14-year-old boy who had ran from his apartment. The only reason he got caught was that African-American male running half naked from his place. He ran into the police and told them, and they went back, and they go in, and initially he was making, a story up to say, like, this is my whatever, making excuses. But they did come in and they said, let me search. And they opened up a drawer and saw pictures of decapitated. He had a head in his refrigerator.
Oh, boy.
So thank God those police officers did investigate. But the ones who didn't, they really didn't pay a price for not investigating that. The way the story shows it, they kind of got some kind of award or something, and they were off work with pay while the investigation happened. So many balls were dropped. And the part that makes it, it's when you're watching it, is because this is a true story.
Right.
So it's impactful in that way as you watch it, even though there was some creative license that was taken. For the most part, the gist of the things they shared were true. And it ends with, they were supposed to take the apartment building where it happened. Apparently they tore those buildings down, but they were supposed to turn it into some type of memorial or park. And the Glenda Cleveland lady was following up. She's also passed away, but it says they never did anything. They never did it. So, once again, you see injustice throughout, and it could have been avoided. ended after his first victim, which was a white male. It could have ended after his death, but unfortunately it did not. So if you can stomach it, there is a lot of insightful things to see, and a lot of lessons learned. So if you want to check out Dahmer Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story on Netflix, I would say it's worth a watch. I forgot how many episodes, like maybe 8 to 10, something like that. But check it out if you can. If you have comments, if you've already watched it and you want to comment on some of the things I've shared, or your view of how it was written, and if you understand why some of the victims' families are kind of complaining about the platform that Jeffrey Dahmer was given, take a minute, subscribe to our channel, and give us your feedback in the comments.